It was supposed to be just another quiet summer in Rose Hill, Indiana, a town with only one stoplight, where everyone knew everyone, and kids still played outside until sunset. But on June 14th, 1997, that peace shattered. 7-year-old Mary Collins never made it home from her piano lesson. Her bike was found leaning against the fence behind the church, the front wheel still spinning. No signs of struggle, no witnesses, nothing but silence. This is the story of a murder that shook a town, and how that town chose silence over truth. Mary was last seen at 4:27 p.m., waving goodbye to her music teacher, Mrs. Appleton. She turned left toward the alley shortcut she always took. That path ran behind the church and led directly to her home just 4 blocks away. But she never arrived. By 5:15 p.m., her mother, Helen Collins, began to worry. By 6 p.m., she was walking the neighborhood. By 6:30 p.m., the police were called. At 7:12 p.m., search parties were out. Over the next 48 hours, the entire town mobilized. Volunteers walked fields, combed through wooded areas, knocked on every door. Helicopters flew overhead. Local news aired updates every hour. Then, at 9:43 p.m. on June 16th, 2 teenagers found her. Mary's body was lying face down in the shallow creek at Miller's Hollow, less than a mile from her home. She had been strangled. The town fell into horror. But worse than the grief was the growing, gnawing feeling. Someone they knew had done this. The investigation was fast and public. FBI teams arrived. Polygraphs were given. Local officers went door to door. But quietly, behind the scenes, a name kept surfacing: Jacob Redford. Jacob was 24. He had a minor criminal record, shoplifting, public intoxication, but nothing violent. He worked part-time at the hardware store. He lived 2 houses down from the alley Mary used. One neighbor told police Jacob had been out in his yard that afternoon. Another said they saw him near the church around the time Mary disappeared. But nothing was confirmed. What was confirmed, but never publicly announced, was that DNA under Mary's fingernails matched Jacob's. The sample was partial, not enough for a conclusive conviction. The police knew, and many people in town knew too. But still, no arrest. Rose Hill wasn't just a town. It was a community built on tight roots, shared churches, and unspoken rules. Jacob's father, Bill Redford, was a pastor, a respected one. His family had lived in Rose Hill for 5 generations. His mother ran the food bank. His sister was a teacher at the elementary school. To accuse Jacob meant accusing the whole Redford family. Rumors were shut down fast. One woman who mentioned Jacob in line at the diner found herself asked to leave. Helen Collins said in an interview, "It felt like the town closed its doors around us, like our grief was an inconvenience." Some whispered that police didn't want to go after Jacob because of his father's influence. Others, including one retired deputy, later admitted, "We were told to back off. Not officially, but we got the message." In 2004, 7 years after Mary's murder, a local school counselor named Teresa Knight came forward. She had worked with Jacob's younger cousin. The boy had once drawn a picture that disturbed her: a girl in a creek with hands around her neck. Teresa reported it and was told by school leadership to drop it. Instead, she started digging. Through public records, through old police logs. She spoke to neighbors, to Mary's music teacher, to the teenagers who had found the body. She compiled everything into a 40-page dossier and sent it to every major newspaper and television station in the state. Most ignored it, but one didn't. A young reporter from Indianapolis named Ray Moreno read it and drove to Rose Hill that same week. Ray Moreno began interviewing townspeople, documenting the silence, and uncovering missing evidence. His 3-part article, "What Happened to Mary?" ran in the Indianapolis Ledger in 2005. It caused an uproar. State authorities reopened the case. DNA was retested with modern techniques. This time it was a match, 99.99% certainty. Jacob Redford was arrested in February 2006. He confessed during questioning, but claimed it was an accident. At trial, the jury deliberated just 4 hours. He was sentenced to life without parole. Teresa Knight testified. So did Helen Collins. The courtroom was packed. Some people applauded. Others sat in silence. Outside the courthouse, Pastor Bill Redford told reporters, "Mais son committed a terrible sin." But what this town did, turning a blind eye, was a sin of its own. Today, Rose Hill has a new mayor, a new police chief, and a small memorial near the creek where Mary was found. Teresa Knight moved away, but returns every June to place flowers. Helen Collins never left. "This is still her home," she says. "She never got to leave, so I won't either." Most of the town avoids talking about that summer. But now, when Mary's name is spoken, people no longer look away. They nod. Some cry. Some apologize. Because some silences are louder than screams.